Welcome to Heal with E. James podcast. On this podcast, my guest and I will discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can live a life that is happy, healthy, and whole. So I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get to it. Hey guys, real quick, before we jump into the episode, I need you to do the 3 S's for me. What is that? First of all, I need you to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss an episode of our podcast. Number 2, I need you to share it with your family and friends. Don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone else. Lastly, I need you to say something. Leave us a comment. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know what you want to see from us, what you like, what you don't like. We are open to your suggestions. We want to know everything that you want to let us know about the podcast. All right. Now, get back to the episode. All right. Welcome to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I am your host, Earnest James, and I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. Therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. Thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. If you haven't already, make sure you listen, like, subscribe, and share our podcast on all of your social media platforms, all of your podcast listening platforms. And also make sure you guys are checking us out on our YouTube channel, which is the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network. Make sure you guys are checking us out there, where you will find not only the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, but you will also find our sister podcast, which is the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. Again, that's the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, as well as the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast that you're listening to and watching right now, both which are available on the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network on YouTube. Make sure you guys go and check us out there. Today, just like any other day, we are blessed with the guest, Miss Martha. How are you feeling?
I am doing good. I'm okay.
Good. First of all, let me say thank you for being here, because you could have been doing anything else with anyone else, but you're here with me and my listeners, and I definitely appreciate it. So I want you to do me a favor. I want you to introduce yourself to my listeners. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do.
Sure. So my name is Martha. That's the easiest name. My first name is Chinyere Udeh. I'm a first generation Nigerian American. I'm also a CEO, founder, and author of All Martha's Writers, and 2024 globally recognized author that uses literature writing to address social issues, advocate for reform, and call for transparency.
All right. I like that. So I want to jump a little bit into your story before we start talking about you as being a business owner and the author and all of those things. Let's talk a little bit more about your story more directly, should I say, because you told me you are a Nigerian American, originally from Nigeria. So coming here, what age were you when you came here? And what was was it a more of a culture shock, should I say, of coming from Nigeria to America and the differences of that experience?
Well, I came when I was 17. My upbringing back in my home country, I would say, kind of shaped me, because while I was there, and going to school, I lived in the dormitory, Christian dormitory, all girls. We pray every 2 hours. We cut our hair to show a sign of respect. However, when I came to America, of all places, to Maryland and Baltimore, Yeah, it was different. I went to public school. So imagine going
Yeah.
from a Christian private school to a public school, so the difference was there. The kids certainly was not acting like people that came from a home. And that was my first time actually going to a mixed school. I call it a mixed school, boys and girls school. The
Mhm.
first shock that I had was people kissing in the hallway, people making out in the bathroom, pregnant women or girls in school, you know. So that was quite a transition for me. But after that, I got used to seeing it, and I shaped it up. But that was quite an interesting view for me.
Yeah, yeah. So how was your when you started school and then just meeting the new students, and how was the neighborhood, should I say, and how was you kind of were you kind of accepted into the neighborhood first of all, and then even once you start going to school, were you accepted in those circles as well?
To be honest, I was bullied.
Mm,
Uh, I ended up getting into fight. This young lady called me African B word. I have had it all in a gym locker, so I lost it, and
mm,
that was my first time ever getting in trouble and getting suspended.
mm,
Yeah, my first time ever. So when it comes to the home life, my dad kind of made sure that I am inside the house, um, and studying and learning, going to summer school,
mm.
anything. But he also do allow me to socialize with some kids he believes that has sense and direction of where they are going. He does not allow me to mingle with just anything. So being accepted was a unique stuff that he was very selective of
Mm.
whom and what I associate myself with.
Yeah. Did your father try to find another like a Nigerian community for you guys to kind of integrate to, or was it just the same with everyone in the regular neighborhood, but he just was selective about who you were able to hang out with? Did you guys kind of connect? Because I know, so I have a friend who's from Africa, and I know when she came here, the first thing that she did was look for the community of people that came from the country that she came from. So I'm just asking, was that something that your father was aware of and conscious of? Like, okay, I'm going to look for this specific Nigerian community, or it just was like, well, I'm just going to be here and then just be selective of who you were around.
It's actually, believe it or not, they are like in county. I started off in Colombia. Um, there is some certain county or zip code that is just African populated there.
Mhm.
So that
Okay.
was where I found myself. But that
Right.
does not mean there is no other people there, but
Right.
majority of them were predominantly Africans from different works of life. So
Okay.
I started off in Wallake High School, before moving down to Baltimore. And when I moved down to Baltimore, he was also very selective of the areas, which also is African community populated. So it was after high school that I left the African community to African American community.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Cool. So are you an only child, or you have other siblings as well?
I'm actually the last born, so the last borns are a little bit much more cared for, especially
Yeah.
if they're a girl. Yeah.
I was going to say that makes sense now. Why your dad would be as selective as he was. That definitely makes a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Cool. And so you graduated from high school. Did you go to college?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Cool.
Having an
So
African dad, college is not an
yeah.
option, it's a
Right.
must.
So on that being said, were you expected to go into the sciences? Because I know a lot of African parents is like, all right, you either going to be a doctor or an engineer, and it's like one of those two, you know.
It seemed like you had been around our community for a minute.
A little bit.
Yes, I was a product of one of those things too. He did explain to me why. He told me that they need us Africans in the medical sector, that any other sector do not really need us, that the system made it that way, that anyone from the continent goes into the medical and there's a lot of job opportunity. And I was like, okay, but it's not my calling. That's
Right.
not what I want to do. He said
Right.
nobody do calling. The system is not programmed like that. That's where they expect us to be, you know.
Mm.
So they did push me into medical, but I rerouted myself into law enforcement.
Law enforcement. Okay, now that's different. That's different. Okay, so did you become a officer?
Actually, I was a former correctional officer.
Okay.
Um, Then I worked and still work in our justice system.
Okay. Cool. 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 So now we getting finna get into the big stuff, right? And so you come to America, from Nigeria, definitely go to college and was on one pathway, and then you went to a different one with the correctional officer. But that's not what you started your business in. As being a business owner and CEO of All Mothers Writers, tell me a little bit about that. First of all, tell me how you even got to what inspired you to even start writing, number one. And how many books have you written? And let's kind of start there as just being an author.
Sure. I would say my writing journey was a uniqueness.
Mhm.
I do a lot of jumping. People like that's a huge jump. I'm like, yeah, you know. So, being as though, like we did mention, the roadmap that was mapped out for me was medicine, and I did not go inside that. I call it systemic box. I
Mhm.
did not go inside that systemic box. I went to the other side, and when what happens to people that goes to that side started happening to me, I said it is time to put it on a paper. I believe because I stepped outside the systemic plan, the plan for people that came from the continent, people that look like me. I'm having a lot of similar experiences with the African Americans, no offense.
Right. Right.
So when I keep saying my story, they're like, your experience is similar to us. I said
Mhm.
because I came over to this side, you know. So my writing journey started as a correctional officer. Writing was never part of it, but while still serving in the system, I saw something that I wasn't supposed to see, and I did not know that what I saw I was not supposed to see it until it was made clear to me that I saw something I wasn't supposed to. And they tried every necessary means to get rid of me because they now view me as someone that is going to tell. And believe it, I would tell. That's part of my job. So before I know it, a state medical doctor indicated that I couldn't read, I couldn't write, and I couldn't speak English because of my immigrant background. And as a result of that, he advised my formal department to terminate my employment. However, me, my early 20s, not a doctor, I decided to write my first book, which was corporate, which was, I have written so many books,
Mhm.
corruption in the division of corrections, which was corruption in the division of correction. So that was my first book that I wrote, you know, telling my own side of the story, and also try to prove the doctor wrong and hopefully to get my job. I never got the job back.
Right.
I pissed a lot of people off without even intending to piss anyone off. So that was actually the beginning of my writing career. And ever since then, I have keep writing, you know,
Yeah, yeah. And now you have how many books currently?
16. And I'm working on another book titled Married to a Cop.
Wow, and I share with you that I've been trying to get some books written, and that's been hard for me to just get one finished, and you did 16, so that is crazy. Congratulations on that.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit. Uh, One of the reasons why we're here, because one of your newest books that you have written. We want to talk about that because yes, so we want to talk a little bit about that because there are some. Uh, it's based on a true story, right? And the character goes through some different ins and outs that she has to deal with. That is reflective of even like you mentioned earlier, like some of the things that African Americans go through and have been going through, in this country and in different sectors of employment and corporations and things of that nature. And so the character kind of goes through some of those same things. And so tell us a little bit about the book itself first, like what kind of encouraged you to write the book and even to write it from that point of view of that character. And then we'll go a little bit deeper into the character itself or the storyline itself and some of those situations that she had to overcome.
Sure. The book is centered around our systemic racism, and how it is the factor behind corporate corruption and its unspoken rules. You know, that's the center of the book. The character name is Chinyere Udeh, whom went through this awful experience. I ghost wrote the book for her. Chalmer is my friend. Our parents brought us to America almost the same time, and we went to the same high school. When it was time for us to go off to college, she wanted to be a nurse. I wanted to be medical. So, I mean, in a law field. So I dragged her into law enforcement. So when what happened to her happened, it hit me hard because I brought her inside this realm. And I'm like, we got to tell this as a story. You know, this has been happening. Someone at least have to say something. So that was how the genesis of me ghostwriting the book for her came about.
Okay, cool, cool. So let's get into the story itself a little bit. So you mentioned about the character. Um, what kind of was the incident that happened? As much as you can share, and clearly you share more in the book, but as much as you can share, what kind of was the incident, and then we can kind of break it down into different experiences and the reflections of it.
Absolutely. So inside the book, Chummer experienced what she has not experienced before, because from when I mean we, the people from the continent, what we were shown on the TV, taught from centuries to centuries, is that a white person is more safer than a black person, and you should run to a white man first for help and protection, that black ones are dangerous. You know, even when you are coming to America, they will advise you to stay away from black people. but be friends with white people. So that's the school of thought. So when she encountered that the people that discriminated and did everything was the same very people that she was taught to run to for safety, and the
Mm.
people that came for her aid were the same people they say to run away from because they are dangerous.
Wow, wow. Now that's interesting because I don't think I've heard that quite put that way. Why do you think that, coming from the continent, and when you say the continent, we're talking about Africa,
Yeah.
coming from the continent of Africa, why do you think that is what's been taught? And I know it's been generations, but why do you think that was kind of the messaging that was given even before even coming to America, of like, that's what happens when you get here. Like, because I would think that in Africa is probably more people that look like me than it is white people, should I say. So I would think that you probably would be, and I think even with that is a culture difference in America, because in America, just being a black person, when you go anywhere, you look for other black people, and then so even like I said, that this is amazing to me that is like the continent with the most black people is like, well, when you go here, look for the white people. So that's different. So why do you think that what has even been the messaging for all these years?
Because of the kind of TV shows and movies that are being portrayed and who
Mm.
is actually acting what. In majority of the movies and TV shows, a black man has always been the one committing the crime, and a white man has always been the one that is saving the grace.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah.
Imagine being shown that every day, you know? you know, sometimes I believe when a lie gets told so many times, it becomes true, but
Mm.
in reality, it's still a lie
Yeah.
until truth slaps you in the face.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And and that was the truth, one of the truths. In as much as Chama have questioned those school of thoughts because she happened to step outside the community to
Mhm.
actually partner, get to know the African American community. So, but the same people they told her that was the saving grace was the same people that profiled her as a criminal even before she started working there because she was born in Nigeria. And in their minds, that is a criminal. And even when Chammer never did anything to, constitute that, they already had that pre-mindset, and they has always like tell people to, oh, look out for her, watch her, she's up to something, she's up to no good, but in reality she has done absolutely nothing wrong, you know. So
Mhm.
when she finally started working, um they wanted to fire her the same day
Mm.
because the Caucasian supervisors and leadership believed that her kind and type should never have been hired, and hiring her was a mistake. All of the leadership have already agreed, but an African American guy, which is Jamal, was there and said, no, we cannot terminate this young lady because we have not given her an opportunity to prove herself. And because Jamal said that, all the other Caucasian peers say that you will be responsible for this young lady. And if she messes up, your job will be on the line. So
Mm.
you see how the teaching and the movies contradicts each other in her mind.
Yeah. Yeah. And that has to be like crazy, because definitely being brought up one way and thinking one way for years, all the way up into your adult life for the
Yeah.
most part, and then finding out like, okay, it's not what I thought it was. It's not what I've been told it was. And like you said, the very people who you were told to stay away from now becomes your greatest allies, you know, and that
Exactly.
and I think that that's warranted, you know, to note, even in our reality, that you know, you can't judge, like they said, you can't judge a book by its cover, you know, and you can never tell just by looking at someone or by, you know, the color of their skin and different things of that nature, what type of person they really are at heart, you know, because just as it could have just as easy have been someone, you know, another Caucasian person who may have been that person to step up and say no, that she shouldn't be fired because she wasn't given a chance, and just being open to those opportunities as people, because there are times when we will be faced with those type of uh, not opportunities, but those type of situations where, you know, those who are in power looks different than us, right? And those that who are in power may have a different viewpoint of us, based solely off of our uh, visual differences. Not that they've had a conversation with us, not that they've actually talked to us or got to know us, but just by looking at us, they make an assumption like, okay, this is the type of person that this is, you know. And luckily for the character in the book, that there was someone who came in and stood up for her. So as the story continues, right, and we're talking about the character, so I would take it that she did stay a little longer in that job. Was she throughout the book stayed there as an officer, or was it a point in the book where she decided to leave, and why would she, if that's the case?
She stayed there for almost 2 years.
Mhm.
And each of these 2 years, this particular Caucasian man called Elijah Young Man, had looked for everything just to prove the Black American supervisor wrong. But Chalmer, knowing that someone else's livelihood is on the line, and she couldn't afford to mess up, and that was another stress on her. And majority of the Caucasian, because she worked in predominantly Caucasian, the majority of them were wondering how her upkeep was up to point, means her hygiene. Sometimes they look at her toenails and were surprised that all of her toenails were all accounted for.
Okay.
And she speaks proper, you know. It is a lot to unpack inside this book. Before you know it, they started questioning her. How come she still have an accent? They treated the accent as if it was a disability and a limitation, but in reality, it's not. It just highlighting where this person
Mhm.
is coming from, and that was it. You know, promotions were passed because Elijah believed that Chama uses her body to take advantage of men and want to climb the ladder. You know, they call her career climber, using her body against men. She has never displayed anything like that. But the his experience was based on the Black women he dated during his military days, you know, and they used him to get ahead in their career and becomes there's his supervisor. And because of that, he just mirroring everything on Chama. And another thing was when Chama gets up trying to use the bathroom or anything, that's when the Caucasian man knows that they want to get up and stretch or move around or get something just to watch her butt jiggle. I'm sorry. It was a like they have never seen a continent woman before. But in reality, they have not seen one.
Mhm.
So they didn't know what to expect. So inside the book, but she later left not at her will, because Jamal was framed up by Elijah and other Caucasian peers, and they set him up and kicked him out. And the next week, Chama was kicked out too.
Yeah.
But they first removed the protector before removing Chama. And if Jamal was still there, Chama would still be there.
Right. Right.
So they got rid of the big dog just to take his position and turn around and fire. It was a scene. I'm like,
Right.
we gotta ghostwrite this book. This is like
Yeah.
a movie.
Yes, it is. It is. But the reality is it does happen, and it happens probably more frequently than we know because we're not necessarily there. And so, just to kind of brief it up, or should I say, wrap it up in the bow, what is the main points that you want people to take away from this book when they're able to read it from cover to cover? What are some of the main points and strengths that you want the reader to walk away with from listening to this story or from reading this story?
I would say when you see something, say something to save someone at the end of the day. You will never know where someone has been until you actually walk a mile on their shoe and see exactly where they are coming from. And if you are going through similar stuff, you can't fight them with lawyers because they already have their own lawyers and their own money. Please put your story on a paper, tell your story before someone else tells it for you the wrong way, and you might not be there to defend yourself.
Right, right. I love it. I love it. So, Martha, I definitely appreciate you being on it and sharing your story as well as the story in which you've written, because I think, again, it's probably happening more and more every day that we just don't know of because we haven't had the experiences ourselves. And I haven't, but I definitely appreciate you being on. And we definitely want to make sure that we have your information to be able to our audiences to be able to find all of the 16 books that you've written, as well as the one that we are just talking about. I want you to leave us with a word of advice, right? I want you to leave us with, or should I say, I want you to have the last words, a word of advice, inspiration, however you feel. To express yourself before we get out of here. I also want you to leave us with your social media handles and where we can find you, where we can find the books at. And I want you to kind of leave us with that. So I'll give you a couple of seconds to think about that. To my audience, I want to say thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Our podcast has been sponsored by our podcast has been, excuse me, our podcast has been sponsored by the Deal to Heal School for Living, which is our school community on the school platform, which would help us to further our mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problems, heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. And so there we have workshops and resources to help you do just that. There are several workshops that's there that will help you, deal with grief, deal with overcoming difficulties, all kinds of different topics that we touch on. So make sure you guys go there to the Deal to Heal School for Living on the school platform. You can simply just scan the QR code in the corner and it'll take you right there. The first 7 days is absolutely free. So when you go there, you are able to check it out. Let us know what you think about it. And if you decide to stay, it's only $27 a month. And each month you have access to a new workshop. So again, go there to check out the Deal to Heal School for Living. Also, want you guys to check out if you ever thought about starting your own podcast. I want you guys to also check out the Start Your Podcast Now course. It's an online course. I created it because people are always asking me, how do you start a podcast? And so I created the Start Your Podcast Now course, which is now available online at startyourpodnow.com. startyourpodnow.com. Again, startyourpodnow.com. And you can find the Start Your Podcast course to teach you how to start your own podcast in only 3 steps, because there's only really 3 steps that's necessary to get you up and started. So make sure you guys go and check that out. Again, it's to startyourpodnow.com to start your podcast. So again, Martha, I want to say thank you so very much for being on. Thank you for sharing your story with us and the story in which you've written that I think is going to help a lot of people. I want you to have the last word. I want you to leave us with a word of advice or however you feel, and also your social media handles, where we can find you and where we can find this book and your other books that you've written as well. And so I give you the floor. The floor is yours.
Thank you. So for the books, it's globally available nationwide on Amazon, on our e-commerce website. Where you can find me is all of the social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, name it, I am there. All Martha's writers and author Chinyere Udeh. And the take home for me to you guys is, when you see something, say something to save someone. Playing it cool, turning a blind eyes have never helped anyone before. And to always remember that you do have a story to tell. Tell your story the correct way before someone else tells it for you the wrong way. And you might not be there to defend yourself. And lastly is, I believe in strength being in numbers and power being in unities. Hopefully down the line in the future, we all can close this gap that the continent and our brothers and sisters here have. Bye.
All right. That was great. Thank you so much for being on. To my listeners, I want to say thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, where our mission is to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. Until next time, you guys be blessed. Thanks for listening to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Remember to listen, like, subscribe, and share. This episode has been brought to you by Deal to Heal Teas. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tea and be inspired all day. Let's go to dealtohealteas.myshopify.com. Remember, our mission is to help you to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for listening.